Maria Bartholdi, joined by Piotr Glowgowski, and you're playing Sky Sovereign Energy. Kind of the reason we're talking about this deck is in the name, Sky Sovereign. Tell me, how did you decide upon this deck for this tournament?
Yeah, Sky Sovereign Energy is a great name. I decided pretty early on to play some variation of a energy deck, of a mid-range deck, because well, I think it's the best thing you can do in this standard format. So like, I would rather not play a deck that is not aiming to cast Rogue Refiner, because it's such a powerful card in general and strategy in general.
All right, let's take a look at kind of the base of this deck. This is a pretty stock energy list. Did you change anything around for your list?
No, this is basically what is appearing in every Timur energy list or 4-color energy list. Some Sultai or like more black-based builds swap Long Task Cap for Glint Sleeve Siphoner, but it is a huge strain for mana. So also when we tested, we figured out that the cards are not actually that different. So we decided to go with the usual stuff.
And you mentioned Rogue Refiner before. Why is that so critical?
Well, Rogue Refiner is just a 2-for-1. And it's even more because the 2 points of energy you got sometimes actually translated to another card. So it is 2.5 for 1. When you just play those cards, you just accumulate snowballing advantage, and like you just gain so much. It draws you into your sideboard cards in sideboard games. It draws you into your important cards, into your haymakers in the mirror match. For example, Sky Sovereign.
All right, let's take a look here at the next graphic. We have Supreme Will, Abrade, Harness Lightning, and there is the reason for black, at least partially in Scarab God. Talk to me a little bit about why you wanted to add black into the mix.
Yeah, so black was added because of the Scarab God and the card that we will see on the next slide, which is Vraska, Relic Seeker. And well, the Scarab God, I think that by now it is already known by most standard players that it is a awesome way to take over the game and pretty powerful finisher that is also hard to deal with.
And the one of Supreme Will, why just one?
Well, Supreme Will is there to kind of round out the edges, like to give you a way to interact on the axis that you are not usually interacting at. Like there was a brief period in Standard where Timur Energy and like other energy builds were kind of exploited by decks like tokens, like Godpharaoh's Gift, like those kinds of strategies that are hard to interact with usual main deck spells. Like, and pretty frequently, if you are playing against a deck of this variety, if you just counter one Fumigate or Godpharaoh's Gift or like Approach of the Second Sun, you just win the game on the spot. So because these decks are so all in on their like linear strategy, and it's also like all around a good card. So.
Let's take a look at, you mentioned here, there she is, Vraska, Relic Seeker, and the name of the deck, Sky Sovereign, Console Flagship. You'll notice maybe at home some things are missing here. There's no Glorybringers in this deck and no Chandra. Talk about why.
Yeah. We decided not to play Glorybringer at Chandra. Like people are adapting their decks in a ways to beat Glorybringer. For example, Essence Cutter has become pretty somewhat popular even in the main decks. Like people play around Glorybringer. Like I had some games where like I played a Wheeler Virtuoso, my opponent abraded it, and they were left with a Harness Lightning that they kept to answer my Glorybringer, and that turned out that I play my Skyship. So that was turned out to be pretty bad for them ultimately. And in general, like Sky Sovereign and Glorybringer are both great cards in the mirror, and like in general, like. They are very similar. I just think that Sky Sovereign is slightly better right now for this tournament, and it pays off so far.
And what does Vraska do for you in this build?
Well, Vraska fills two roles. It is a awesome mirror breaker. People have defaulted to play Confiscation Coup. People often choose to play Confiscation Coup in the main deck right now as a way to break the mirror, because you get to steal, I think. Vraska is pretty similar. You play Vraska, you -3, you destroy a tapped Glorybringer, and you are left with a awesome Planeswalker that is pretty often better than the tapped Glorybringer would be. And another role that Vraska performs is that her -3 ability allows not only to destroy creatures, but also artifacts and enchantments. So again, the point with Supreme Will, it allows you to interact on the axis that usually usually Timur decks are not able to interact with. For example, when your opponent is playing a token deck and they are very happy to play a Anointed Procession that you supposedly shouldn't be able to remove, then you play your Vraska, then you -3, and then they are in big trouble.
All right, let's look a little bit at your mana base here. How stretched are you playing 4 colors?
Well, not by much, because as you pointed out earlier, we cut Glorybringer and Chandra, so we certainly don't need double red pretty often, so we can run only 1 mountain. And since the black cards are, all 4 black cards are late game cards, and I have plenty of sources for them with either have Blooming Marsh, attuned for either for Swamp and the Swamp itself, so it works pretty well.
All right, let's just take a look very quickly at the rest of your lands. 2 Rope on Crag, 1 Sheltered Thicket, 3 Spire Bluff Canal, and then onto the basic lands here, 4, 1, 1, 1. Have you felt like you were straining with your mana at all, or with the exclusion of Glorybringer and Chandra, do you feel pretty good?
There are some draws where you obviously draw your island and swamp and a bunch of harness lightnings when it is pretty awkward. But in general, I am pretty happy with the mana base, and I think it actually, it runs slightly smoother than a Timur Black mana base. Of course, than a Timur Black. It might run slightly smoother than a Timur mana base that stretches for double red, but not by huge margin. It's mostly similar.
And you talked to me a little bit about cutting Magma Spray from this build as well.
Oh yeah. Magma Spray is a card that I had a particular dislike for, which was included nearly universally in Timur or other energy lists as a way to fight against mono red, but it is pretty close to unplayable against anything else. The best you can do with it is killing a Rogue Refiner, which is already 2.5 for 1, as I mentioned earlier. So I dislike this card. I actually replaced them with an additional Abrade and Blossoming Defense, which is a thing that I do. I often play 1 copy of Blossoming Defense in my deck.
And you are currently undefeated in Standard with this deck, is that right?
That's right.
All right, so you must be feeling pretty good about your deck choice this weekend.
Yes, it is pretty awesome deck. It is a pretty awesome deck and pretty awesome.
I wish you all the best of luck in your remaining rounds. Piotr Glowgowski, everybody, and Sky Sovereign Energy.